Since I was a little boy, my mother always told me there are thousands of women out there. If one of them cheats on you, you replace her. So when I saw my girlfriend of 3 years sheltering another man under her umbrella in the middle of a downpour, thinking she was well hidden, I calmly took photos without saying a single word. I immediately leaked the video of her and that student, a younger guy, kissing in the rain all over the Zhang University campus network. As soon as the news dropped, the comments from our mutual friends instantly flooded the screen. Their panic didn't surprise me in the slightest. After all, everyone knew just how much Xiao Jiajia had done to get with me back then. She chased after me for 2.5 years, relentlessly begging me 88 times. It was only then that I finally accepted, albeit reluctantly. I kept an eye on the post when suddenly I felt as though her 100% love had just been brutally cut in half. One half for me and the other secretly given to someone else. I didn't go confront her, let alone cause a scene to win her back. I simply deleted all my social media accounts in silence and packed my bags. I left our apartment without looking back. Early the next morning, Xiao Jiajia received a call from her best friend. "Hey, Xiao Jiajia, have you lost your mind or what?" Hearing this, Xiao Jiajia jumped, but her best friend didn't give her time to think and started screaming. "You don't take care of a guy that good, and instead you go fool around with another dude. What on earth could he have possibly done to you for you to treat him in such a disgusting way?" Xiao Jiajia got a monumental scolding from her friend before even grasping the main point of the speech. She leaped up. "What do you mean? Explain yourself." "I'm asking where you are right now." Xiao Jiajia was about to answer when she remembered she was still at the hospital with Luli. The words got stuck in her throat. Her friend, who obviously knew why she wasn't answering, became even more furious. "You're still at the hospital with that Luli guy? Aren't you? Do you know that on the campus network, the photos and videos of the two of you are absolutely everywhere?" Hearing this, Xiao Jiajia felt like her head was about to explode. That's when she remembered she had a date the night before. But after taking Luli to the hospital, she was so busy that she had completely forgotten. And what about him? Did he wait for me all night at the pastry shop? And above all, what must he have thought when he saw those photos? In a sudden panic, she hung up and saw countless missed calls, and they were all from me. At that moment, Xiao Jiajia felt a pain so sharp that she instinctively clutched her chest. She quickly opened our chat, seeing my message, asking her out on a date. She was about to call me to explain everything, but at that moment, Luli, who was next to her, grabbed her hand. "Miss Xiao, can you stay here with me?" "No, Xiao." Jiajia said nothing. She coldly pulled her hand away from Luli's grip. At that moment, reason spoke to Xiao Jiajia. If she didn't show up when I had set a time, at the place I had designated, I would be very angry. Yes, however, recalling the image of me carrying her out of a fire on my back years ago, Xiao Jiajia's anxious heart gradually calmed down. No, he won't be. No, he loves me so much. Why, for me, he even dared to face the flames. How could he believe that I was going to leave him over something like this? No. Time ticked away minute by minute. I looked at the empty seat across from me. 10 minutes passed, then another 10. Xiao Jiajia was still not there. And by that time, our date was already an hour overdue. I was a little disappointed, but not that disappointed deep down. I wanted to understand someone. Too bad that someone doesn't want it to end on good terms and expects me to bow my head. I posted the message I had prepared on my social media. A few minutes later, the Jinda University forum exploded once again. Someone had taken a screenshot of my post and the content, "Happy to be single." The university forum caught fire all over again. Heading to the airport without further delay. Once I arrived, I asked the driver to take the car back to the villa, and after informing Aunt Xiao of my destination, I turned off my phone and boarded the plane. 3 hours after I took off, Xiao Jiajia finally left the hospital. But what she didn't expect was to discover that I had announced I was single. In disbelief, she opened my profile, but all she saw was a simple horizontal line. Seeing this, Xiao Jiajia froze. She immediately wondered if I had blocked her or deleted her. Panicking, she hurriedly dialed my number. But on the other end of the line, she only heard a cold mechanical voice over and over again. Xiao Jiajia didn't understand what was happening to her. She just felt that at this exact moment when she couldn't reach me, her world had just collapsed. Everything around her had lost its color. Clinging to a final glimmer of hope, she rushed to the address I had sent her. Xiao Jiajia looked all around her, hoping to catch a glimpse of me. But people were coming and going, only there was no sign of me. This cafe, Xiao Jiajia had opened it specially for me. It was also the place where we met up most often. She stared at this so familiar place, as if every table still carried the memory of our passionate discussions during our dates, our smiling silhouettes. But in an instant, the illusion shattered. Xiao Jiajia found an employee. Pretend to be calm, she asked where I had gone. Young Master Chen sat there for 2 hours. Then he left. He didn't order anything. When did he leave? He left around, let me think, around 10:30, I'd say. Thinking about that time, Xiao Jiajia looked down at her phone. The message indicated a date at the cafe at 9:30. But it was now 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I, after arriving at the agreed time, had waited for her for an hour. During those 7 hours, what could I have been thinking? What kind of decision could I have made so that during the 7 hours she didn't show up, I made no move to contact her, even if she hated to admit it? At that moment, all of Xiao Jiajia's arrogance, all her certainty collapsed. She was beginning to realize that this time, I was truly angry. And if I was doing all this now, did it mean I didn't want her anymore? Hardly had this hypothesis crossed her mind when tears welled up in Xiao Jiajia's eyes. Her hands began to tremble involuntarily. First, like a zombie, she went back to her car. Her trembling hands dialed my number over and over. Time passed without her realizing it. Xiao Jiajia's other phone, placed on the passenger seat, also began to vibrate. It must be Luli who, unable to reach her on her main cell phone, was trying her backup phone. But Xiao Jiajia had no desire to answer. Her chest felt tight, her head ached, her eyes stung and even. Blinking seemed to be an incredibly difficult task. Yet her mind was completely blank today. Xiao Jiajia wanted to take the car to come look for me at my place. But she found that her hands, gripping the steering wheel, didn't have the slightest strength left. During those few seconds, while Xiao Jiajia was dazed, her best friend called her. Xiao Jiajia quickly picked up, and her first words were, "Help me." On the other end of the line, her friend was surprised for a moment, then sighed. After giving her location to her friend, Xiao Jiajia finally felt like she could let it all out. She murmured full of pain, "I can't reach him. I didn't know it would turn out like this. He must be so sad. That's why he doesn't want to talk to me anymore." "No, you're not stupid. You're just greedy. Xiao Jiajia, if we hadn't grown up together, for what you did, even I would despise you." Even though her friend's words were harsh, Xiao Jiajia didn't talk back. With her head down, she asked herself too, why did I do this to him? When did it all start? It was him, I think. Even though he was admired by everyone, the model child that everyone praised, in my eyes, he was the most special being. Anytime, anywhere. As long as he was there, my eyes were always on him. No matter the moment, whenever he needed something, I would appear by his side without the slightest hesitation. I didn't throw tantrums, I didn't demand anything. Devoted and without ever complaining. Over time, I, who seemed so brilliant in the eyes of others, lost all my sharp edges in front of him. So when a certain someone like him, Luli, with a diametrically opposite personality appeared, Xiao Jiajia began to get distracted. Compared to me, who had very few desires, Luli was way too easy to please. All it took was a crumb of attention to make Luli happy for a whole month. This unprecedented sense of accomplishment pushed her to stop rejecting Luli's deliberate advances. Her heart began to waver. She started lying to me, spending more and more time with Luli. But what had I done wrong? Never before had Xiao Jiajia realized her own baseness and shame. She leaned back limply against the driver's seat. When her friend arrived, she found Xiao Jiajia in this near-death state. Smelling the scent of disinfectant coming from her, her friend pinched her nose in disgust. "No, don't tell me. You went to see Shenmo in those dirty clothes." Hearing her friend's voice, Xiao Jiajia snapped out of it. A moment later, she forced a smile. "I'm going to get cleaned up before going to see him." Seeing her state, her friend couldn't add anything more. She took her to a hotel so she could wash up and change before heading over to my place. However, they waited for half an hour in front of my door, but nobody came out. Xiao Jiajia, heart pounding, had no choice but to step forward a few paces to unlock the door with her fingerprint. But barely had she placed her finger when the message, "Identification failed," appeared. Hearing that mechanical voice, Xiao Jiajia froze on the spot. She wanted to try again, but right then the voice of Aunt Zhao echoed behind her. "Miss Xiao?" "Aunt Zhao, I came to see Shenmo." "I know, but the young master has gone on a trip. He is not here at the moment." "When is he coming back?" "I have no idea." "Tomorrow I am also leaving for a trip abroad for a while. In the future, you won't need to come here anymore." Seeing that Aunt Zhao was about to go back inside after those words, Xiao Jiajia hurriedly held her back. "Aunt Zhao, could you please call Shenmo for me? I have something important to tell him. Please, I beg of you." "Those are the young master's orders. There is nothing I can do for you, Miss Zhao. You've known the young master for so many years. You should know his character. Ask yourself what on earth you could have done to make him so uncompromising. Besides, our young master has never been upset in his entire life. You are the first person to ever make him cry out of anger. I hope you won't regret it. Thank you." Today, Xiao Jiajia felt her throat tighten. She stood there for a long moment without being able to say a word. As for Aunt Zhao's question, she couldn't answer it and didn't have the courage to. As the door closed in front of her, tears finally flowed from Xiao Jiajia's red eyes. Her clenched fist turned white. She staggered, on the verge of collapsing. Her best friend saw everything. In the end, she could only sigh. She and Xiao Jiajia both knew that she wouldn't see him today. As for the future, Xiao Jiajia didn't even dare to think about it. At the same time, on the other side, after my plane landed at Gangchang International Airport, I happened to come across a scene. A bloated, arrogant man was harassing a young girl. He absolutely wanted her number, and faced with her refusal, he started touching her deliberately. Then he began calling her a gold digger. Everyone around was watching the show without intervening. I couldn't just stand by and do nothing, so I stepped in. Except I didn't try to settle it with words. The man lost his mind and started insulting me. I didn't back down, I punched him. Shortly after, the airport security guards came running and surrounded us. Meanwhile, in the VIP lounge, not far away, several people were watching the scene. That boy has quite the comeback. True, he is very tough, but he's going to be in serious trouble now, fighting in the gangchang. Airport is neither a big deal nor a small one. If the man who got hit decides to press charges, he might spend a few days at the station. Jean, Serian, are you planning to go rescue our hero? Don't worry, he won't need it. Hearing this, Zhang Yiya frowned, about to reply, when she saw that a little further away I had made a call. The security chief then took his walkie-talkie, said something, then turned to me with the utmost respect. I made a gesture to invite him to proceed. Once I left, they forcibly took away the man who was on the ground, unable to stand up because of the pain. Saran, how did you know he wasn't in any danger? When that boy got off the plane, he was escorted by the flight crew. For the staff to give him that much attention, it means not only is he rich, but he must also have another status. Outside the airport, the girl was so enthusiastic that she insisted on inviting me to dinner. I couldn't really refuse. By the time I checked into the hotel, it was already 8 o'clock in the evening. Seeing my phone battery draining at a crazy speed because of the incessant calls, I frowned in disgust then. While recharging it, I called my parents to tell them everything was fine. The next day, my parents asked me to contact my older sister, Chen Yin, to give her my hotel address, so she could bring me some things. When I hung up, I saw another number trying to force its way through. I cursed with impatience. Even though it was an unknown number, I didn't need to think to know who it was. On the other end of the line, Xiao Jiajia thought I wouldn't answer this call either. But this time it went through. Seeing the call screen light up, Xiao Jiajia's heart skipped a beat. Are you okay? Yes. In less than a day, Xiao Jiajia didn't look human anymore. Her bloodshot eyes had dark circles around them. She had no vitality left. I couldn't see her, but even if I had seen her, I wouldn't have cared. Miss Xiao, aren't you tired? No, there are more than 99 missed calls. If my phone wasn't of such good quality, I think it would have crashed already. Where are you? I'm coming to see you. We can explain things in person, okay? And what do you have to say to me? Tell me how you flirted with Luli behind my back. Know or how exciting your immoral love was. Or maybe that even if you cheat on me, I'm still the one you love the most. Xiao Jiajia, your excuses are nothing but hot air to me. But no, it's not like that. Nothing concrete happened between Luli and me. At most, there was just that hug, nothing more. No, don't reject me right away. Give me a chance. Please. She sobbed, trying to redeem herself. Since she hadn't heard from me yesterday, Xiao Jiajia felt that her world was empty. She had only one thought in mind. The person who couldn't live without me was actually her. It was only by finding me that everything around her would make sense again. That's why she tried to contact me, frantically. But she didn't expect that my only response would be that her excuses were worthless. Xiao Jiajia didn't even have time to say another word before only the dial tone could be heard on the phone. Instinctively, she redialed the number, but discovered that I had already blocked her, so she had to call from another phone. Seeing the phone ring again, I remembered the promise I had made to my parents. That was the only reason I didn't turn it off. So the first thing I did when I went out was to go buy a new SIM card. I then sent my new number to my parents and suspended the old card. It was then that I followed the GPS recommendations to the entrance of a bar. A few minutes later, Zhang Yiyao, accompanied by the bartender, approached me with a disdainful look. I was sitting on a swivel stool at the counter. He was playing on his phone. Then he looked up and yawned. And then he stopped dead in his tracks, his eyes wide. No, it can't be such a coincidence. Zhang Yiyao's heart took a leap, then she walked up to me. I'm the manager of the bar. Hi, what can I do for you, handsome? I'm reserving the entire booth section near the coast. It was only upon entering the bar that I discovered this. Cave Street led directly to the coastline. Sitting in that spot, you could perfectly admire the whole coastal landscape. I have a little quirk. I like to isolate myself in the middle of the crowd. Zhang Yao followed my gaze toward the western part of the bar. Then she started to laugh. You certainly don't lack nerve. That's the best corner in the whole bar. You want to take it all for yourself? No. If you weren't so attractive, I'd feel like throwing you out. I glanced at her. As if by magic, a card appeared in my hand. Money to be made, are you interested or not? Zhang Yiyao stared at the card in my hand before smiling with narrowed eyes. She took the card, handed it to the waiter behind her, and it was only afterward that she asked me how much space I wanted. Everything within a 10-meter radius. Yao nodded sharply and gave a look. Someone left on the spot shortly after. They came to escort me to the glass bay window. Yao Ji, why did you accept his request? The bar isn't short on money. Hearing this, Zhang Yiyao shot him a look, remembering me at the airport, and the way a certain woman couldn't take her eyes off me. She replied with a knowing look, I'm afraid someone might hold a grudge against me. It was only after she was gone that the young man who had asked the question understood what Zhang Yiyao meant. But Zhang Yiyao didn't care at all about what the people in the bar might think. She quickly stepped into the elevator and went up to the second floor, then rushed without stopping into the private lounge. Guess who I ran into downstairs? But upon opening the door, the two people in the lounge had already fallen asleep. Seeing this, she sighed. She yawned lazily and closed her eyes in turn. Half an hour later, the other girl woke her up by shaking her. Let's go down to eat. Zhang Yao yawned, and still half asleep, followed the other two out of the room. Barely passing the lounge door, Zhang Yao abruptly snapped out of it. She was about to speak when she saw Gu Qinghan standing in front of her, looking down. Noticing her gaze, Zhang Yao slapped her forehead. Hey Angie, I forgot to tell you, that guy reserved that entire corner over there. The counter where we usually eat is also within my 10-meter perimeter right now. 1/3 of the customers in the room were lining up in front of my spot. Even those who weren't lining up had their eyes glued to me. There were even quite a few guys who came to join the fun. As for me, I didn't reject anyone. As long as they lined up, and as long as their looks and figure were up to par, anyone could sit across from me for a game. Those who won could get my contact info, and those who lost had to run a lap on the beach outside. While they were watching, two other girls ran out. Jin Yao, who had just understood what was going on, was speechless in an exaggerated way. That guy really knows how to have fun. While Leng Yu made no comment, Gu Qinghan, on the other hand, had already looked away and was heading toward the elevator. Without knowing why, Jin Yao suddenly felt a chill. She nudged Leng Yu on purpose. Don't you think something is off? You're the one with a problem. You're even capable of selling our table. You might as well sell your brain along with it while you're at it. Gu Qinghan doesn't like the smell of food in the private lounges, which is why she eats on the ground floor. Zhang Yao knew very well why Leng Yu was angry. She hurried to follow her to beg for her forgiveness. I'll go negotiate with him so he can lend us a table. Zhang Yao paid no attention to Leng Yu's coldness. Once downstairs, she ran toward me, greeted me, and sat right across. Tonight, the drinks are on the house. Can we borrow a table from you to eat? Yes, today. I nodded my head in agreement. Zhang Yao immediately headed toward the booth next to me and signaled to Gu Qinghan and Leng Yu. Leng Yu muttered in a low, contemptuous voice. To think he's the owner of this place, and in the end, he is forced to ask a customer for a seat just to be able to eat. This is another one of Zhang Yao's stunts, I thought to myself. Gu Qinghan, she didn't seem absolutely bothered. She turned her gaze away from my direction, then stood up to sit next to Zhang Yi. While waiting for the dishes, Zhang Yao was slumped on the sofa closest to me. She watched me face off against everyone who came to hit on me. Minute after minute, second after second. There was almost nobody left across from me. None of them managed to beat me. Seeing this, I yawned out of boredom and stood up to leave. Zhang Yao was surprised by my move. She immediately spoke up. Are you leaving already? No, hey, are you too bored? Why don't you try playing with us? My friend Qinghan is very good at dice. Hearing that, I stopped and turned my head. My gaze landed on the woman whose eyes were fixed on her phone. Honestly, of all the women I've met, she's the one I liked the most. Hey, as if she felt my gaze. Gu Qinghan, who was looking at her phone, looked up at me. Our eyes met and I gave her a firm nod. Then I walked up to her. Shall we play? Hearing these words, Gu Qinghan let out a little laugh. As if you didn't know. Yes. Play what? With all the racket I was making on my end. How could she not have noticed? It's possible. After all, she was on her phone. Thinking about it, I lost all interest. Anyway, it was only because I had caught her looking at me a bit earlier that I had seized the opportunity to approach. Since she's not interested, might as well not play. Thinking that, I gave an apologetic smile. Sorry for the disturbance. Barely were those words spoken, I turned around to leave. Gu Qinghan watched my silhouette walk away, her heart inexplicably tightening. A word escaped her, yes. I heard it, but I pretended I hadn't heard anything. Yes. However, Zhang Yao didn't intend to let me go like that. He rushed over to block my path and said, all panicked, play with us. My friend Qinghan said yes. I'm not playing with him. How about playing with you, yes? Hearing this, Zhang Yao froze on the spot. But the next instant, he noticed Gu Qinghan's gaze. He understood immediately and shook his head frantically. I don't know how to play. Play with my friend Qinghan instead. My friend Qinghan is super good. He was complimenting her, but his look was full of begging. God only knows how rare it is for Gu Qinghan to be interested in someone, so if, because of him, everything fell through, the big shots above Zhang Yao would have his skin, even though it was our first meeting. I quickly understood what he was getting at. I wasn't really thrilled about it, so I tried to refuse, politely, but he wasn't in the mood to play along. Like she's showing off a bit, you know? No, so I laughed without even realizing it. Turning back to Gu Qinghan, I saw her stiffen up, visibly embarrassed by my words. But she was trying hard to save face, acting as if nothing happened, which made me laugh even more. I sat down across from her and shook the cup of dice on the table. How are we playing? Gu Qinghan leaned forward a bit. Best 2 out of 3 rounds. There we follow the rules. The loser runs a lap outside. The winner gets the other's number. Does that work for you, big or small? Big. Gu Qinghan didn't make a fuss and let me decide. No problem, after you. Gu didn't protest. Second, I saw her push the dice cup. She shook it nonchalantly 2 or 3 times on the table before stopping. Then she made a gesture to invite me to play. On my end, I only shook it a few times before putting it down. But the result was exactly as Zhang Yiyao had said. Even though I had managed to get 3 sixes, Gu Qinghan, she had stacked the 3 dice on top of each other, showing only a single 6. I had nothing left to try. A good loser, I leaped up, ready to go run. Seeing me do this, Gu Qinghan immediately shot a look at Zhang Yiyao, who understood right away. He blocked my path again. Wait, a second, handsome, what's this, girls? Hey, are you so kind-hearted that you don't want me to go running? Of course not, we won. Yes, what we want is your number. Hearing that, I couldn't play dumb anymore. Hey, today I obediently pulled out my phone. After Gu Qinghan and I saved our numbers, Zhang Yiyao chimed in too. Me too. I want your number. Thanks. Though I'm nowhere near as good as you at dice. How about every time you come here, the drinks are on the house? In that case, you might as well just invite me to dinner. Given the personality of Zhang Yiyao, I bet he's a true foodie. By following him, I'm not likely to end up with a bad plan. At these words, Zhang Yiyao quickly scanned my code. Then it's a deal. My name is Zhang Yiyao. By the way, are you in Hong Kong as a tourist? You could say that for now. Send me a message if you need anything. Thanks. Bye. I'm heading back to rest. See you next time. And without waiting for Jean Yao to hold me back, I left the bar. A few minutes later, seeing Gu Qinghan's pensive look, Leng, you couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong, Angie? Are you interested in him?" No. Gu Qinghan was massaging her slightly aching temples. She sighed. But he is not interested in me. Leng Yu threw a sweeping glance at Jin Yao. It looks like he was warmer with Zhang Yiyao than with you. These words startled Jin Yao, who was currently looking at my profile. No way. But thinking back, it's true that Shemo was nicer to me than to Gu Qinghan. While talking, he handed his phone to Gu Qinghan. Look, he just broke up. According to his profile, it's only been a day or 2. Hearing this, Leng Yu stepped closer with a look of disbelief on her face. What? No, that can't be true. No, hey, how can anyone be that blind? Well, maybe I'm just not his style. Neither physically nor mentally, but he wouldn't go as far as to say bad things about me out of spite. But when he saw what I had posted, he remained silent for a moment, which is rare for him. You really have to be blind to that extent. Hey, so Zhang Yao frowned and began his analysis. So Shenmo came to Hong Kong to recover from a breakup? That's perfect. This is the time to take advantage of the opportunity. And it's perfect. Seeing the excitement on Zhang Yao's face, Gu Qinghan couldn't help but doubt. Is it really that obvious? Not at all. It's just that from the very first second you saw Shenmo yesterday, you couldn't take your eyes off him. And then yesterday at the airport, you said he didn't need our help, but you still contacted the airport manager to make things easier for him. By the time Gu Qinghan was saying this, he had clearly just finished sending a message. The sharp-eyed Zhang Yiyao, she immediately saw the message he sent. So, if we can say that her actions yesterday could still pass for a sudden burst of kindness, then his behavior today really exceeded all their expectations. That's why Zhang Yiyao offered to switch places with me, and why she pushed us, Gu Qinghan and me, to play dice. And since Gu Qinghan didn't refuse, it meant that her suspicions were well-founded. Seeing the other two winking and smirking at her, Gu Qinghan shook her head helplessly, without actually denying it. Gu Qinghan had never been in a relationship, but she knew what she felt for me was clearly not just a simple desire to become good friends. The uncontrollable beating of her heart, the burning heat that invaded her, reminded her that she had never felt anything like this before. She thought about the way she foolishly repeated my name in her head. Under the teasing gaze of Zhang Yiyao and Leng Yu, her ears turning red, she finally spoke up. To set a rule, don't bother him. Zhang Yiyao and Leng Yu exchanged a look and nodded their heads. Leng Yu knew that for this kind of thing, you had to let nature take its course. As for Jin Yiyao, she figured that as long as they didn't talk about Gu Qinghan, if she invited me out, it wouldn't be considered going against Gu Qinghan's suggestion. On my end, as I left the bar, I noticed that several gazes were following me from the shadows. Straightly, before I could even do anything, those gazes had completely disappeared. I walked around the neighborhood a few more times to be sure that the eyes following me from the shadows were indeed gone for good. It was only after that I took a taxi to go back to the hotel. After a quick wash-up, I grabbed my phone and went out to the balcony. I lay down on the rocking chair, opened my messaging app, and started replying. Seeing that I was back to life, my friend immediately sent me several question marks. Then she started telling me what had happened today on the campus network. The photos and videos of Xiao Jiajia and Luli have all disappeared. She thinks that it's Xiao Jiajia who paid someone to do it. On top of that, my friend also sent me a photo Xiao Jiajia posted on the campus network, saying that her story with Luli was just a misunderstanding, that your relationship was very stable and that you hadn't broken up. I see that a lot of people believed it. We grew up together as childhood friends, and we dated for years. Plus our looks, our abilities, everything matched perfectly. So in the eyes of the students at Jinda University, we were the perfect couple. When the photos I posted that day made the rounds, a lot of people didn't believe it. They thought someone had deliberately photoshopped the images to stir up trouble. Today, with Xiao Jiajia's statement, even more people are convinced that Luli and I haven't broken up. I clicked on the photo my friend had sent me. It was a screenshot of Xiao Jiajia's statement. The post read, "Thank you everyone for your concern, but my relationship with Shenmo is stable. As for the photos from 2 days ago, it was just a kind gesture to help someone out. I ask you to stop spreading malicious photos and videos. In question otherwise, I will take action to protect my personal rights." A statement so formal that no flaw could be found in it. I smirked. After replying to a few friends, I opened the campus forum. Given its popularity, Xiao Jiajia's post was still at the top. I didn't even need to search to find it. I clicked on the comment section and typed directly, "I am currently single." The claim of a stable relationship with Xiao Jiajia is a pure invention on her part. As for the photos and videos of the romantic embraces between Xiao Jiajia and Luli in the rain, I was the first one to publish them. I politely wished for the two of you to stay chained to each other. After posting this response, I thought to myself that if Xiao Jiajia wanted so badly to discuss me, I had no reason to be soft. So I copied that message and posted it on my own page, tagging Xiao Jiajia and Luli in the process. Once all that was done, I felt wonderful. I messed around on my phone for a bit, then I went back to sleep in my room. Meanwhile, upon seeing my reply, Xiao Jiajia's face turned terribly dark. She immediately opened our private chat on the campus site. "Hey Shenmo, where are you? Do you really have to be this cruel? For the sake of all our years spent together, give me a chance." Let me explain, okay. She waited for a long time, but Xiao Jiajia still hadn't received a reply. Heartbroken, she slumped onto the sofa without any strength left. After grabbing an alcoholic drink from the table and chugging it down in one go, she sent me another message. "No, it's fine if we don't see each other. I'll explain to you right now, okay? Yes, I just want you to care a little bit more about me. Between him and me, there was only that embrace that day. You're the one I love. I never thought about leaving you. Don't be so harsh. Don't reject me, please." After sending this message, Xiao Jiajia slid off the couch to collapse onto the rug. She didn't know who had intervened in this matter, but at any rate, she was now unable to locate me. I wasn't giving her any room to breathe. I had simply disappeared from her life. Xiao Jiajia was suffering every single moment. She could only reread our chat history, hoping to receive a message from me the very next second. She told herself that even if I insulted or hit her, it would still be better than having no news at all. But receiving a message so cold and ruthless from me had broken her heart. Xiao Jiajia closed her eyes, and heavy tears began to stream down her cheeks. "Shenmo, I truly know that I was wrong. Why can't you be just a tiny bit more merciful? With me, you who used to love me so much. Ever since the day I dropped that bombshell on the campus forum, I hadn't really paid attention to the latest gossip anymore. That day, I took advantage of the rain to take a nap. Barely awake, I received a message from Jin Yao. We had only seen each other once. I really didn't expect him to think of me so spontaneously. I opened the chat window. Hey, Shenmo, do you feel like going out? I'm hosting a reception at a manor. The setting is really nice. Are you interested? I had just opened the chat window when on his end, Zhan Yi Yao saw the typing indicator. He hurried to send another message. Come. There will only be nice people from our circle. I won't let anyone ruin your evening. Reading this, I thought for a moment. I erased the words, I'm not coming. They had been so considerate after all. And besides, I didn't have anything special to do. So why not go have a little fun? So I asked him to give me the time and place. Seeing me accept the invitation, Yao smiled from ear to ear. Departure in 1 hour. So it's a private estate over there. Outside vehicles are not allowed. I'll come pick you up, of course. If you prefer, I can also wait for you at the entrance. Since I had agreed to go out with them, revealing my address mattered little to me. With the status of the Liu family, in Gangsheng, if you really wanted to find me, it wouldn't be a problem. So I directly sent him my location. Then time passed very quickly. I had barely gotten up when I received a photo from Jana Yao. I replied out of politeness that I was arriving, and after letting my big sister Shen Qing, I took the elevator downstairs. Barely out of the hotel, Zhen Yao spotted me right away. She first poked her head out of the window, then realizing that wasn't appropriate, she quickly went back inside, to then open the car door. In fact, Zhan Yao didn't even need to wave at me. I would have seen her anyway. Her white Range Rover was way too conspicuous. I walked quickly toward the car, hesitating between the passenger seat and the back seat. Zhan Yao directly opened the back door for me. The shotgun seat is reserved for a highness sorry. You'll have to make do with the back. I nodded, thanked them, and as I was getting in, a hand appeared in my field of vision. I looked up, and my gaze met that of the person who was watching me from inside the car. Our eyes met. Then seeing him again, I was once more stunned by Gu Qinghan's beauty. This man was perfection personified. Need help getting in. Hearing that, I had trouble figuring out his intentions. I looked at his hand, then his face, and finally I placed mine on his arm without hesitating. Once settled in, I started fastening my seatbelt. As for Gu Qinghan, he was staring at the spot where my hand had rested. He found my hand very warm. and the moment my hand touched him, he felt a sort of inner tickle. This tickle made his body quiver. Gu Qinghan found himself acting strange. It was as if his whole body was going to catch fire. He pinched his lips, feeling his ears heating up. He quickly turned his head toward the window, trying to hide his embarrassment. Zhang Yiyao in the front didn't miss a thing from the scene. She chuckled discreetly, then started the car while humming. During the ride, I nervously gripped my seatbelt. Yes, Gu Qinghan, who had regained his composure, immediately noticed my gesture. He frowned for a moment, deep in thought, then gave a little kick to the seat in front of him. Drive slower. What? Yes, you don't feel well. No, I get motion sickness. No, it's nothing. It's not a big deal. I won't throw up, my head is just spinning. Hearing that, Zhang Yiyao immediately slowed down even more. Noticing her reaction, I hurried to stop her. You can drive at your usual speed. Might as well get it over with quickly and efficiently. Then Zhang Yiyao seemed a bit skeptical. But seeing my assured look, she had no choice but to speed up. About a few minutes later, Gu Qinghan asked to stop the car again. Very quickly, the person who was waiting ahead on the roadside handed me the bag. Gu Qinghan took it and opened it to check, making sure it was indeed what he was looking for. He pulled something out and handed it to me. A honey, yuzu, and lemon tea. Today, this should relieve you a bit. I was surprised. I pointed at myself. Is this for me? In this car, you're the only one who needs it. In that case, I gladly accept thank you kisses. I gave him a polite smile as I took the cup. Seeing me tilt my head back to drink, Gu Qinghan remained flustered for a moment. When I was finished, Gu Qinghan pulled a box of medicine out of the bag. He handed it to me. Second, motion sickness pills. Third, the box is brand new. Fourth, this time I was really a bit embarrassed. So recalling his name, I turned my head toward him. Fifth, hello Gu Qinghan, you're always so thoughtful. Hearing that, Zhang Yiyao, sitting in the front, burst out laughing. Yes, a thoughtful Gu Qinghan. That was surely the most ridiculous joke she had ever heard. Yet in the back, Gu Qinghan didn't seem to care. Without answering my question, he spoke up with a smile. There's still an hour's drive left. If you take the medicine, the rest of the trip will be less painful. I nodded. I took out a pill and swallowed it in one go. Then I leaned back against the seat to rest. As for knowing whether Gu Qinghan was truly a thoughtful person, after all, we had barely just met. To me, it didn't really matter. Time passed, and my breathing became more and more regular. My head, following the movements of the car, started to tilt to the side. The moment it was about to hit the window, Gu Qinghan turned and instinctively placed his hand between my head and the glass. The next instant, my forehead rested gently in his palm. It was only upon looking down and seeing my face that he realized the spontaneity of his gesture. He held his breath. Despite himself, he was afraid of waking me up. But at that moment, Gu Qinghan suddenly felt as if his heart no longer belonged to him. Every beat betrayed his nervousness and confusion. When I opened my eyes, I saw Gu Qinghan's tense face. We were very close, so close that not only could Gu Qinghan smell my perfume, but I could also smell his scent of sandalwood. His arm was right in front of me. The warmth of his hand against my forehead felt nice. I moved a bit and pulled my head away to free his hand. Gu Qinghan withdrew his hand, looking a bit panicked. Sorry, did I wake you up? I shook my head while observing his facial features. Then I leaned toward him. I really like the smell of sandalwood too. When it comes to perfumes, you could say I'm obsessed with it. That's why I used to give Xiao Jiajia perfumes that contain sandalwood. But unfortunately, Xiao Jiajia never used them. But seeing Gu Qinghan in front of me confirmed my own tastes. A man so cold and distant is perfect for this kind of woody fragrance. Thinking about it, my eyes lit up. I have a perfume that would suit you perfectly, but I don't have it with me. I could have it sent over one of these days. Yes, could I offer it to you at that time? At these words, Gu Qinghan stared straight into my eyes, as if evaluating me. He had to force himself to look away. Yes, Mr. Shen, do you often give gifts? No, but Miss Gu's charm and beauty perfectly match this perfume. Yes, today I had it custom made. It is unique in the world. Since Gu Qinghan hadn't given me a clear answer, I pressed on as the seconds ticked by. In the front, Zhang Yiyao, who was driving, felt a strangely intimate vibe in the car. But at that moment, he had the good sense not to interrupt us. After a long silence, Gu Qinghan finally nodded, holding back a smile. Then it's a deal. While talking, I asked him for his address on my phone. Today, Zhang Yiyao kept driving, and he warned us that our wild card had arrived at Hualuo. His car was parked at an intersection, and 2 other vehicles were already there. Seeing us, a young boy came running over. You? Then Zhang Yiyao kept driving. You didn't even come pick me up. But as soon as he saw who was in the back seat, he suddenly snapped to attention. Then he put on a big, obsequious smile. Qinghan. It's been a long time. Gu Qinghan gave him an indifferent look. She didn't say anything, but that simple look was enough to make Xiaoyan shiver. Since his childhood, Xiaoyan had never been afraid of anything or anyone. He was even capable of standing up to his own father, but he feared Gu Qinghan to his very bones. If he had known that Gu Qinghan was coming to the party today, he would have certainly found an excuse not to come. Didn't they say Gu Qinghan wasn't coming? Why is she here all of a sudden? He lowered his head, trying to hide behind the others. But as he backed away, he saw the other person getting out of the car. After the introductions, he greeted me. He looked like a very social guy. After barely exchanging a few words, he started asking me if I had any brothers or sisters. I blinked my eyes about to answer, but at that precise moment a voice rang out right behind us. "What are you guys talking about?" This voice was so chilling that it gave me goosebumps, and Xiaoyan, who was winking at me just a moment ago, seemed to choke up upon hearing this voice. "Oh, we weren't talking about anything. And besides, how is it any of your business what I talk about?" he added while rolling his eyes and throwing a glance at me. Then he smiled and ran away. Seeing me left aside, Gu Qinghan, who was not far away, called me. I turned in his direction and saw him leaning against his Range Rover, waving his hand for me to come over. I understood she was calling me. I must admit the scene was rather pleasant to look at. But what's with this feeling of being called like a dog? I muttered under my breath. I walked toward her at a leisurely pace. Gu Qinghan stared at my moving lips. When I got close to her, she asked me, "What were you saying just now?" At these words, my expression froze. I thought to myself, how can she have such sharp hearing? I didn't make the slightest sound. Seeing my puzzled look, Gu Qinghan very easily. Guess what I was thinking? I didn't hear you. I read your lips. Then I understood. I settled down next to Gu Qinghan leaning against the car. I didn't say anything. So if Gu Qinghan had heard what I was thinking just now, if she really took me for a dog, what would be left of my pride? Of course. Gu Qinghan understood that his words were just an excuse. Telling herself he was changing the subject again, she asked, "Are you feeling better since you came out to get some fresh air?" "Yes, much better, thank you. In fact, after drinking the honey water and sleeping a bit, I felt much better. Now I almost feel like laughing. And the fact that I went out to breathe the fresh air completely made my motion sickness disappear." Hearing him say that, the smile on Gu Qinghan's lips broadened a bit more. In the end, we didn't say anything else. We just lifted our heads at the same time to look at the sky. A few moments later, in the distance, Xiaoyan had already started messing around with others. He looked left and right, then decided to go complain to Zhang Yi Yao. While passing in front of Gu Qinghan and me, he even purposely quickened his pace. Seeing this youth full of vitality, I couldn't help but smile. Beside me, Gu Qinghan quickly noticed my smile. "You like personalities like Xiaoyan's then?" Gu Qinghan had noticed that from Zhang Yiyao to Xiaoyan, I couldn't resist these kinds of people who were extroverted and full of life. "How did you guess?" With my eyes." "Well, your eyes are pretty sharp. Don't you think people who have this kind of personality are very warm?" Back when I had just returned to the country, I was completely out of sync with everything around me. Even though I spoke Chinese, my grasp of the context and my speaking speed, it was well below those of kids my age. Maybe it was out of pride back then. I didn't dare speak in front of others for fear that they would discover my weaknesses. But there were always a few kids who insisted that I play with them. Maybe because they found me handsome. For even though I rejected them again and again, they continued to follow me with patience. At first, when they noticed that I spoke slowly, they didn't make fun of me, but waited patiently until I finished. Sanne asen kini chan kinan de chichamide et get that get then spate ten tin a beacon get taking in tiniki singa kiss in tin ken cake. Later, they even helped me work on my speed. And bit by bit, once I got used to it, I completely integrated into my environment. Even though we almost lost contact, after high school, since that time, I have a natural affinity for people who have this kind of personality. I was reminiscing about the past, but Gu Qinghan, upon hearing the word warm, started to wonder internally, a personality like mine, Shenmo, could he find it warm or not? The answer was no. Aside from Zhang Yi, Yao, and Qi Yuan, there was almost no one in Hong Kong who didn't fear her, and she was absolutely not the kind of person that one could describe as warm. Shortly after, the group set off again to arrive at the estate. Once out of the car, everyone minded their own business. Only Xiaoyan and I had nothing to do. He pulled me into a corner of the estate. Then he gave me a thumbs up. "Brother Mo, you are too cool, so given all the compliments I'm giving you, can you tell me, what is your relationship with Sister Qinghan No?" "Why are you asking me that?" "Because you are the first man that Sister Qinghan treats with so much regard." "The first? No. Seriously, no." With a face like Gu Qinghan's, she mustn't lack suitors. No. "That surprises you, huh? It surprises me too." "No, hey, Brother Mo, how did you manage to conquer Sister Qinghan?" His question showed clearly that he was convinced that my relationship with Gu Qinghan was anything but ordinary. For Xiaoyan, Gu Qinghan had always been cold, distant, and hard to approach. All these people are only here thanks to the prestige of their families, which allows them to show up in front of Gu Qinghan. But for me, it's different. according to what he learned from Jin Yao, Gu Qinghan came to this party, even though she didn't even intend to participate. Yet, even with that, this is only the second time I've met her at the absolute most. And earlier, when we were all together, Gu Qinghan even found an excuse to have me get into her car. She played the driver for me. Not to mention Xiaoyan, even Jin Yao and the others have never had Gu Qinghan as a driver. What are you talking about me seducing her? I turned my head puzzled toward Gu Qinghan, who was standing a bit further away, as if she had felt my gaze. She turned toward me in her turn. Our eyes met. I smiled at her without the slightest hesitation, then turning back to Xiaoyan. Why should it be up to me to seduce her? Couldn't it be her trying to seduce me? Why, given the reaction of Zhang Yiyao and the others? I'm not stupid enough not to see that. Gu Qinghan has her eyes on me. You've got some nerve, are you serious? I'm kidding. For now, I have no intention of getting into anything with your sister Qinghan. Don't overthink it. Thanks. Yes, seeing that my reaction was very calm, Xiaoyan immediately got worried. But you could... Yes, I was just asking out of simple curiosity. I didn't mean anything else. Yes, I have someone I love. It's the person who came with me earlier. Yes, I know. Don't be so nervous. Seeing him so anxious, I hurried to reassure him, all while wondering what Gu Qinghan could have possibly done to scare someone to this extent. Yes. It was at that moment that I heard familiar footsteps behind me. From where he was, Xiaoyan could see exactly who was arriving. But the second his gaze landed on them, he hid behind me. Oh my god, it's Gu Qinghan and Sister Yiyao coming. Seeing him ready to disappear, completely behind my back, Zhang Yiyao felt like laughing. And seeing everyone's reaction, Xiaoyan remained silent. He just knew that as long as I was there, Gu Qinghan wouldn't pay too much attention to him. And as expected, from the moment Gu Qinghan approached until she stopped, her gaze remained fixed on me. It was only when the four of us remained in silence that Gu Qinghan cast a glance at Xiaoyan. This look had the effect of a presidential pardon for Xiaoyan. In a flash, he ran away. Seeing that, I gave a little smirk in Gu Qinghan's direction. You scared Xiaoyan away. Who's going to keep me company now? Zhang Yiyao jumped at the opportunity. Gu Qinghan will do it. There happens to be a swing right there. So you like swings? No, why don't you guys go take a turn over there? Anyway, it's up to you. Oh, right. I'm going to see how the preparations for the meal are coming along. And in the blink of an eye, they had both disappeared. So, Gu Qinghan. She was in no hurry. She stood quietly beside me. From time to time, her gaze would land on me, but seeing that I was lost in thought while looking at the landscape, she didn't disturb me. Half an hour later, Zhang Yiyao and the others called us to eat. I snapped out of it and walked over to Gu Qinghan's side. The vegetables from the estate were local produce, and even the poultry was free-range, raised by Gang Z. Everything was of irreproachable freshness. This crew had even brought in a chef, especially for the occasion. A whole team had come, and after the meal, the evening was already well advanced. The others understood each other with a simple look. They left me alone with Gu Qinghan. A convoy of cars entered downtown Gang. Sheng then dispersed bit by bit until only Gu Qinghan's car continued on its path. She was slowing down more and more, as if to stretch this ride, again and again. But finally, I was the one who couldn't hold out. I dozed off and closed my eyes. It was only at that moment that she sped up to reach the hotel. Gu Qinghan then got out of the car and took a bag handed to her by a person who was waiting at the entrance. I had a hawthorn juice prepared for you, but only drink half of it. Alright, well, if you drink too much of it, I'm afraid it might hurt your stomach, alright. Thank you for your concern, Miss Gu. Well, I'm heading up. Send me a message when you get inside to let me know everything is fine. With that, I waved at her and walked into the hotel until my silhouette completely disappeared from her sight. It was only at that moment that Gu Qinghan got back into her car and left. A few days later, in a basement in Gang, Zheng's weak hoarse pleas could be heard. The iron door at the basement entrance opened. A man who was already waiting on site handed him gloves prepared in advance. Boss, we obtained all the necessary information. Everything they photographed has been erased. What did they take? He asked, and the assistant immediately handed him a phone. It's only photos of Mr. Shen during his daily travels. The hotel where the gentleman is staying is quite secure, so these individuals haven't had time to infiltrate it yet. Today, Gu Qinghan took the phone. He scrolled through them one by one. Seeing my smiling face in the photos, a warmth rose to his cheeks. But just at the thought that these photos had been obtained by these individuals through filthy means, Gu Qinghan's face hardened. He took it upon himself to delete the photos one by one, ensuring that no trace would remain. It was only then that he asked the assistant who the instigator was. It's the eldest of the grandson generation of the Liu family, Liu Ruyang. The day Mr. Shen went to a bar, he happened to be there by chance. This Liu Ruyang has a weakness for pretty faces, and given Mr. Shen's beauty, it's normal that he targeted him. Gu Qinghan started walking and headed toward the room. At the end of the hallway, then he replied, it has nothing to do with Shenmo's appearance. If he hired people to follow and photograph Shenmo in secret, it's solely because he's a playboy. Arriving in the room, He personally interrogated the men soaking in the water again. Once certain that no information had been omitted, Gu Qinghan pulled off his gloves and threw them to the ground. Ignoring the heartbreaking screams behind him, Gu Qinghan turned to leave. Send a file with everything they've done, supported by evidence. Let the higher authorities handle the rest. Oh, by the way, make sure the patriarch of the Liu family comes to see me. The people he is incapable of managing, I'll be the one to deal with them. The next day, I struggled for a long time under my blanket, but it was impossible to open my eyes. It was only when Shen Qingyu called me that I reluctantly got up. Are you still sleeping? In China, it must already be noon. I slept so well last night. I don't want to get up. My contacts in Gangsheng noticed that someone was following you these past few days. After learning this, I asked my men to investigate their identity. But 2 days ago, everyone who was following you disappeared. And just now, my men have just received information. They have been sent inside. Yes, hearing that, I opened my eyes all of a sudden. Yes, sister, it wasn't your men who did that. No, of course not. If it were me, would I tell you? At these words, I furrowed my brows reflecting on the truth. When a few familiar silhouettes came to my mind. Yes, she waited for a moment. But I wasn't saying anything. Shen Qingyu, being perceptive, sensed something and asked me directly, do you know who it is? I think I know. Gu Qinghan and Zhan Yiyao. I know them. I actually ate with them a few days ago. But I'm not sure if they are the ones who did this. Yes, why would they help you? Because you are part of the Gu family. I thought for a moment. Then I replied playfully, no idea. Maybe Gu Qinghan is trying to seduce me. Yes, but why Gu Qinghan and not Zhan Yi? Yao, after a strange silence. Shen Qingyu seriously thought about the question, and she concluded that it wasn't impossible. This time, I was the one who remained silent for a moment, before speaking up again. Maybe because Gu Qinghan is better looking than Zhan Yiyao. While Gu Qinghan is a complex and cunning character, he is also the current head of the Gu family. Ordinary. Mortals cannot afford to provoke him. Are you sure you want to deal with him and Xiao Jiajia? So yeah, no, have you really forgotten her? Shenmo, I think that with my character, I shouldn't have moved on so quickly. Otherwise, I wouldn't have needed to leave Yinchi for Gangsheng. The only reason for doing that was to flee until my feelings for Xiao Jiajia had completely disappeared, so as not to go back to her at the slightest sign of weakness on her part. But we shouldn't use another person or another relationship to achieve that goal. Instantly understanding what Shen Qing was getting at, I rolled my eyes. Yes, sister, we broke up. I'm not in mourning. And besides, since Xiao Jiajia dared to pull a dirty trick on me, why should I be sad about losing her? Why? And even less reason to hurt an innocent person because of her. The upbringing I received never taught me to cling to an unfaithful butch. By leaving Jinchi, I simply wanted to get some fresh air and have some fun. If there must be a link to Xiao Jiajia, it's that I didn't want to give her the opportunity to harass me and disgust me. Do you understand now? Yes? Hearing that, Shen Qingyu should have been relieved, because I would never lie to her. But thinking of Gu Qinghan, who was in contact with me, her worry returned. After all, compared to Xiao Jiajia, Gu Qinghan is far too dangerous. After having once again reassured my big sister, who is always worrying, I used the excuse of being hungry and needing to find food. After hanging up, I opened my conversation with Zhan Yao. I asked him about the tailing, but he replied that he wasn't aware of it either. And right then, he called me directly. It's not me, but I think it might be Qinghan. And even if it's not her, she can help you see things more clearly. Why don't you ask her? In fact, it's simple. Qinghan might be a bit busy today. She won't necessarily have time to answer you. As it happens, I have to go see her. So what if I take you straight there with me? Did that make sense? Or not? Yes, if Gu Qinghan is so busy, how would he have time to take care of me? That's what I thought. So I asked him the question directly. If Gu Qinghan is so busy, how would he have time to take care of me? Yes. Hearing that, Zhan Yiyao slapped his forehead. He then explained timidly, with a more than obvious hint, even if Qinghan is very busy, she will always find a moment for you. So are you coming? No, come on, come. I pretended not to understand. Yes, all right, but I don't know the way. Send me the address first. No need to complicate your life. I'll pick you up. It's simpler. With that, he hung up. Half an hour later, the car of Zhan Yao entered the old residence of the Gu family. After being parked, we still had a bit of a walk left on foot. On the way, I smelled that scent of sandalwood several times. We arrived in front of the villa. There I saw an old man with a hunched back standing at the door. Beside him, a woman was kneeling. My gaze swept over the two figures. I was perplexed, but I had no intention of trying to find out more. Zhan Yao stopped in front of the old man and nodded. He greeted him politely. Yes, Master Liu. Ah, it's you, Yao. Are you here to see Gu Qinghan? Yes. Yes, I have something to check with Qinghan. So if you'll excuse me, I'll head inside. Master Liu cracked a forced smile. Zhan Yiyao replied evasively, his gaze sweeping over Master Liu's pale face, and his forehead beading with sweat. Out of the corner of his eye, Master Liu spotted me next to Jin Yao looking surprised. Which family is this young master from? for Zhang Yiyao to bring him to see Gu Qinghan. His status must be anything but ordinary. He was pondering my identity, not noticing his granddaughter kneeling by his side. But upon seeing my face, his expression, which had been frozen until then petrified, Liu Ruyang finally understood why. Gu Qinghan had suddenly taken it out on the Liu family. But he only met him once, right? No, not twice. So could it be that Zhang Yiyao fell under his spell? Or is it Gu Qinghan who's interested in him? Oh no, it's over. I'm competing with Gu Qinghan for a man, but I haven't even done anything yet. I just asked someone to take a few photos to find out a bit more. The more Liu Ruyang thought about it, the more pale her face became. She swallowed with difficulty, then pulled on the corner of old Master Liu's clothes. Grandpa, I think I know why. Gu Qinghan is targeting our family. Please wait a moment, I'll go announce you. On his end, Jin Yao led me to the entrance of the living room and asked me to wait a moment while he went to announce me. Once inside the living room, he greeted the group of important figures who were sitting there. Then he approached Gu Qinghan and whispered to him in a low voice, Shenmo wants to see you. So I brought him over. He's right there at the entrance. Do you want to see him? Yes, at first. He hadn't really paid attention to the arrival of Zhang Yiyao. Leaning over his documents, Gu Qinghan heard his words and slowly raised his head. His gaze crossed the living room to land on the jade screen at the entrance. Then he handed the file he was holding to his assistant. That will be all for today. The session is adjourned in the Gu family. Gu Qinghan's word was law. No matter where the discussion stood, or if the problems to be resolved had been settled, the moment Gu Qinghan announced the end, no one dared to linger for a single moment more. People began to leave the living room. I kept a polite smile ready to step aside, but Gu Qinghan's silhouette appeared in my field of vision. He stopped 2 paces away from me, suppressing the urge to step closer. Mr. Shen, sorry to have kept you waiting. I shook my head. Without understanding, I felt the curious glances of the others, landing on me from time to time. With a calm air, I continued to speak to Gu Qinghan. I didn't really wait. The reason I came is to ask you. Gu Qinghan made a gesture to invite me inside. I moved forward step after step until I passed him to enter the living room. Then I noticed that Gu Qinghan remained 1 step behind me. In the group that was preparing to leave, someone else asked in a low voice, who is he or she? That's none of our business. Who is he? Okay, don't ask questions. I was just curious. Okay, let's go. The person who had asked the question wanted to talk back, but when glances, charged with spiritual power, secretly landed on him, he only thought about leaving as quickly as possible. The group at the entrance quickly dispersed. Alright, only Gu Qinghan and I were left in the huge living room, along with Zhang Yiyao, who had been sitting on the side from the very beginning. Seeing Gu Qinghan walking behind me, Zhang Yiyao glanced at him sideways with an enigmatic smile on his lips. Then yawning, he waddled his way out. I'm still sleepy, I'm going back to bed. Then, once Jin Yiyao had left, Gu Qinghan turned and headed toward another door. Follow me. The living room is for passing guests. I'll take you to the tea room. I only came to ask you for confirmation about one thing. No need to go to all this trouble. I intended to leave, right after clarifying things. But given Gu Qinghan's reaction, he didn't seem to plan on letting me leave so soon. And indeed, the next instant, I heard Gu Qinghan's excuse, it's no trouble at all. I must properly receive my guest of honor. We crossed a small garden in silence, entering the adjacent tea room. Gu Qinghan gestured to invite me to sit down. Then he asked me what tea I wanted to drink. I replied that any kind would do and sat down across from him. Seeing him begin with expert gestures to scald the cups and rinse the tea, I understood that this wasn't the first time he had done it. And seeing the blue and white porcelain teacup spinning and twirling between his fingers was another most pleasant sight. Observing this scene, I relaxed, resting my head on my hand. I looked at him, fascinated as he meticulously prepared the ginger tea. Finally, I was able to savor the result. There you go. Seeing that I liked it, Gu Qinghan smiled. When I was finished, he poured me some more. Why did you want to wish to see me? Well, hi, I wanted to ask you, if the people who were following me, were you the one who took care of them? Of course, it's just a question. It's just that among the people I know in Gangsheng, those who are familiar to me and would have the capacity, it's only you and Zhang Yiyao. I already asked Jane Yao and he told me it wasn't him. That's why I came to ask you. It was me. Did you see the man kneeling at the door when you came in? No. He's the one who hired people to follow you and take photos of you. Don't worry. I took care of all those people. Seeing how, at the mention of taking photos, my expression had become a bit strange, Gu Qinghan added, all those photos of you during your daily travels, I got rid of them. Don't worry about it. It's him. I first excused myself, but I knew that a simple thank you was a bit light, so I also made a promise if you need my help with anything at all, I will do everything in my power. Gu Qinghan nodded. The impression he gave next was unfathomable. Have you had lunch or not yet? In fact, I just woke up an hour and a half ago. As it happens, the meal at home is ready. Let's go, Mr. Shen. These 2 words, Mr. Shen, seemed to have been chewed over by him. They carried a strange and undefinable intonation. I followed him, lifting my head without realizing it, to touch my burning ears. Actually, you can call me by my first name, or Xiaomo. My family and friends all call me that. Hearing this, Gu Qinghan, who was walking ahead, stopped dead in his tracks. Then he completely immobilized himself, staring straight into my eyes. Immediately, Gu Qinghan went on the offensive, calling me Xiaomo, and I couldn't resist this voice of Gu Qinghan, tinged with a sort of fascination, finished me off on the spot. Once he started walking again, I pressed my hand against my beating heart, pounding, and I walked all the way to the dining room. There were already 4 or 5 dishes on the table. During the meal, we didn't talk much, but from my expression, you could tell that I was very satisfied with this meal. When Aunt Lee came to clear the table, she even gave me a special compliment. "Hello there, young man. You have quite a healthy appetite." "Thank you, Aunt Lee, it was delicious. It was just as good as my mother's cooking. The next time you come, tell Qinghan in advance. Tell her which dishes you like, and she'll tell me so I can prepare them for you." "Thank you, Aunt Lee, thank you very much." Shenmo nodded obediently, thanking her again with a big smile. But once Aunt Lee left with a smile on her face and looking happy, Gu Qinghan suddenly caught me off guard. "Xiaomo, you've already decided on the next time?" "Yes." Hearing that, I raised my head. Stunned, I met Gu Qinghan's teasing gaze. "What, are you really that impatient?" "I'm just afraid that Aunt Lee might be disappointed in you." "Well, whether Aunt Lee is disappointed or not doesn't depend on me, but on you. If Mr. Gu invites me, then I'll come." Hearing these words, Gu Qinghan's eyes lit up. He proposed hesitantly, then come every day. I raised an eyebrow and shook my head to decline politely. Ignoring his disappointed look, I wiped my mouth. I finished eating. "Thank you for the invitation, Mr. Gu. I'll be going now." "Goodbye, Mr. Gu." But even though Gu Qinghan replied goodbye to me, his body instinctively started to follow me, wanting to see me out. "Goodbye, yes, don't trouble yourself, I can take a taxi." He stood in front of me and leaned in a bit awkwardly. "No, even if I'm busy, it gives me pleasure to see you out." "Yes, if I don't make an effort and end up getting driven again, it would be a real shame." "Yes." At these words, I flashed a smile and gave a thumbs up in his direction. "That's kind of you, Mr. Gu. Well then, good luck." All the way back, Gu Qinghan couldn't stop thinking about this question. Good luck. What does he mean by good luck? But what efforts must I make so that Shenmo agrees to come to dinner every day, and even if I dare to be greedier to have him stay by my side every day, at every moment? When he returned to the old house of the Gu family, he saw Aunt Lee, who should have been in bed, still sitting on the couch. "Aunt Lee, why aren't you going to rest?" Aunt Lee stood up and looked at Gu Qinghan affectionately. "I was waiting for you. The young man from earlier, is he the one you like?" Hearing this, the expression of Gu Qinghan softened. He nodded. "And him. Does he like you?" "Ah, with your personality. Ever since you were little, no boy has ever taken an interest in you. Qinghan, since you like him, you must treat him well. The day he comes to ask for your hand, don't forget to take what your mother left for her future son-in-law." Seeing that Aunt Lee was getting more and more carried away, Gu Qinghan quickly interrupted her. "Aunt Lee, I don't even know if he likes me. It's way too early to talk about all that." Hardly had he finished his sentence, then all of Aunt Lee's fantasies vanished. She shot a glare at Gu Qinghan. With her eyes, you are really good for nothing. He is only in Gangsheng for tourism. He will surely leave again soon. And so you, if he doesn't make the first move, why don't you do it? You make an effort to win him over. Once that's done, you can convince him to settle down in Gangsheng. That's not how it works. Gu Qinghan massaged his temples. Zhang Yiyao had already told me something similar. It's as if everyone assumes that if we were together, he would have to sacrifice his old life to stay in Gangsheng. But that wouldn't be fair to him. Neither of us is an accessory to the other. We are free individuals who can go wherever we please. First of all, he is free. He can stay wherever he wants, and if he doesn't want to stay in Gangsheng later on, he can leave. Aunt Lee frowned a bit surprised. Gu Qinghan, usually so authoritarian, seemed to have completely changed his personality when it came to me. Gu Qinghan replied almost without the slightest hesitation. "Then wherever he is, I will go to see him." "In that case, hurry up and make sure he falls in love with you. Otherwise, you will go to see him. But he might not even want your visit. Feelings have no logic. Since you like this person, don't worry about whether it's a man or a woman and go for it." Yes, but Gu Qinghan remained stubborn at the same time. I thought to myself that I had just come out of a relationship and that it was better not to go too hard. Courting the person he loved was for Gu Qinghan since his birth the trickiest thing he had ever had to do. Yes. The next day, I returned to the hotel with some takeout snacks. Hardly had I arrived in front of the door, then I saw that the one to my room was wide open. And in front of it, there was a group of strangers, men and women, but I didn't recognize anyone. At that moment, a guy came out of the room. "Hurry up and clean up in there. My friend is arriving any minute now." But I didn't approach. I preferred to call Shen Qingyu. There were too many of them. I wasn't stupid enough to go and confront them all by myself. After getting a positive response from Shen Qingyu, I hung up ready to leave. It was at that moment that a staff member came out of the room. He immediately recognized me and exclaimed with surprise, "Mr. Shen, you're back. yes at these words. Every gaze inside and outside instantly turned toward me as I was preparing to leave. At that instant, not only did I not stop, but I even quickened my pace. But visibly, they had no intention of letting me slip away. Those who were standing guard in front of the door ran toward me and blocked my way. At the same moment, the man inside the room slowly walked out. After sizing me up from head to toe, he sneered. "Why are you running away? This room is mine now. Take your trash and get out." This room was the best located in the whole hotel. The playboy often used it to receive his guests. Previously, few people could afford to occupy it long term, so it was generally empty. But for the playboy, whether it was occupied changed nothing. He was just a nobody with a bit of money in gang. Shang. This guy wasn't even worthy of shining his shoes. Hearing that, I sneered in turn. Seeing the watch on his wrist, my smile became even more scornful. "Then why are you holding on to trash in your hand?" He didn't expect me to be so direct. The playboy's face froze. "What are you talking about? I don't understand." "It doesn't matter. If you don't understand human language, I can explain it to you. That Patek Philippe perpetual calendar watch that you have on your wrist, a chronograph reference 1518. It was sold at auction a year ago, during a prestigious sale for 350 million, and the buyer was a businessman from Europe. His last name is Philippe. Guy." At that very instant, even without knowing if I was telling the truth, hearing the price of the watch, the first thought that crossed the playboy's mind was neither caution nor fear but greed. 350 million. No wonder I liked it at first sight. He raised his hand to admire the watch, his mind racing. His decision was quickly made. I don't know what you're talking about, but this watch has always been mine. Throw him out with all his junk." So in gang, Sheng He was the one in charge. He thought he could do whatever he wanted. Now that the watch was on his wrist, it belonged to the playboy. It didn't matter who would come to claim it. That was when I started to search for the hidden weapon in my pocket. I was thinking of a way to get out of this, but before I could even do anything, the elevator door behind us opened with a ding. The next instant, a tall and slender woman stepped out with a quick pace followed by more than 10 bodyguards. I glanced back and immediately recognized her. Lin Liu Yue. Yeah, the head of the Lin family's branch in Hong Kong, and also Shen Qingyu's representative. Here, Lin Liu Yue, I'm here. Seeing that he looked exactly like the photo, this insolently beautiful boy, Lin Liu Yue was once again dazzled. She ran toward me and without a word, she inspected me from head to toe, making sure I wasn't hurt. She finally looked relieved. "No, don't worry, I'm not hurt. We didn't even have time to fight. It was a close call." Meanwhile, ever since Lin Liu Yue arrived, Lin Liuxian hadn't taken his eyes off her. Yes, but when he saw that the first thing she did was to worry about me, his face immediately darkened. "Lin Liu Yue, what the hell are you doing here? Who is he to you?" Yes, it was only upon hearing his voice that Lin Liu Yue turned around. But she didn't expect at all that the danger young master was facing would be linked to Lin Liuxian. "It's me, so what? You're just a daughter that the Lin family disowned? Don't think your presence is going to change anything. Lin Liu Yue, I'm telling you, whether it's you or this guy, all it takes is for me to say one word and you guys will scurry away with your tails between your legs." To be honest, Lin Liu Yue and Lin Liuxian hadn't seen each other for a good long while. But no matter how much time passed, her own half-brother was still so stupid it could make you cry. So she approached the playboy. Under his stunned and hateful gaze, she raised her hand, then brought it down violently. Slap! The playboy's face snapped to the side and quickly turned red and swollen. The playboy shook, his hand numb from the force of the blow. Consider this slap a first down payment, playboy. There are some people you just can't afford to offend. It was only after these words that the playboy realized he had just taken a slap. Holding his face, he began to scream like a madman. "You who gave you the right to hit me? Ah, you're finished." But Lin Liu Yue simply watched with contempt as Lin Luxian lunged at her, before being blocked by her bodyguards. "Liu Yue, could you step aside a few paces, please?" My voice suddenly interrupted their argument. Lin Liu Yue turned around and saw that I was filming with my phone. Lin Liuxian, who also saw my gesture, instinctively tried to hide his hands behind his back. "It's fine, no need to hide. I've already filmed everything, and I made sure to record every single one of your faces." With that, I lowered my head to send the video to Shen Qingyu. Then I continued. "The valuable items in my room aren't limited to just that watch. There are lots of other things of the same value. If a single one is missing, or if a single one is damaged, you're going to have to pay for it all. We were short on manpower earlier, so I was as cowardly as possible. But now, I walked past the playboy and entered my room. No matter how much I had prepared myself, seeing my things scattered all over the floor, and even the fragments of my jade bracelet, my heart squeezed with pain. It was an Imperial Green Type A jadeite. I keep filming with my phone, until I confirm that only this bracelet was damaged. It's only then that I relax a little. Then I look at the men brought by Lin Liu Yue, and Lin Liuxian, who is blocking the door. "You're the one who's going to have problems." Lin Liu Yue's face is just as dark. She didn't think the playboy could be so stupid. "Are there many things damaged?" Yes, quite a few, yeah. So for a few 100 million, I'd say. Hearing this amount, Lin Liu Yue is left speechless, while as for Lin Liuxian, he is first stunned, then starts screaming. What are you talking about? How could you have so many valuables on you? Despite his words, deep down the playboy is extremely uneasy. Unfortunately for him, this time I don't even give him a glance and go to sit on the sofa in the room. Wait until the cops arrive, you can yell at me at that time. So what do you mean you called the police? Hearing this, the playboy wants to force his way into the room, but he is blocked by Lin Liu Yue's bodyguards. You, Lin Liu Yue, tell your men to let go of me. You'd better not make another mistake. Are you threatening me? I'm warning you in Gangshang. Calling the police doesn't always help. You the one named Shen, even if you were a dragon? Here you'll have to crawl. I cast a glance at him and reply nonchalantly. Okay, he wants to add something, but he sees me walking away to take a call. I don't give him any chance to speak. I try to say, hello, hearing my voice sounding mostly normal. On the other end of the line, Gu Qinghan breathes a huge sigh of relief. So the cops are already on the way. I'm coming right now too. Don't worry. No matter how, Gu Qinghan knew I was in trouble. All I know is that he is coming right away, after hearing the news. Just thinking about it makes my mood improve greatly. Yes, I'm coming right now. You worry so much about me. Yes. Of course you are my only distinguished guest. Who else could I worry about? Yes, your only guest. Yes, my one and only. At the end of the line, Gu Qinghan remained silent for a moment. Then he asked firmly, and later too, yes. Gu Qinghan stops in front of the hotel and looks up at the imposing building. He takes a deep breath. It is only with you that it's necessary to imagine a future. Shenmo, I've arrived. Hearing these words gives me chills from the cheesiness. Then looking at the number on my phone, I start to laugh. Then I'm waiting for you, Gu Qinghan. Meanwhile, at the door, Lin Liuxian is unleashing insults. Lin Liu Yu, why are you helping him like this? How does it benefit you to make things worse? And besides, you're helping a stranger like that. Aren't you afraid I'll tell Dad? Lin Liu Yu remained impassive without the slightest reaction. Seeing this, Lin Liuxian's face turned completely red. He then pulled out his phone and began to threaten her. I'm calling Dad right now. Dad, today. It was the threat that Lin Liu Yu used to fear the most. But today she just stood guard in front of my door, ignoring him. Soon, Lin Liuxian managed to reach his father. Dad, my sister, and another guy bullied me. On the other end of the line, Lin Feng's face darkened. That good-for-nothing put her on the phone. Not the slightest question. Simply because Lin Liuxian had complained Lin Feng's had therefore already decided that everything was Lin Liu Yue's fault. Hearing this, the playboy gave a triumphant smile to Lin Liu Yue. Then he turned on the speakerphone and handed her the phone. Dad wants to talk to you. Lin Liu Yue looked down at the phone. Even though she knew she was the one the Lin family had abandoned, hearing Lin Feng's voice, her heart squeezed a little. As she hesitated to reach out her hand, mine abruptly thrust forward. Who are you, old man? Hearing this unfamiliar voice, Lin Feng frowned and ordered impatiently. And who the hell are you? Hurry up and put Lin Liu Yue on the phone. Yes, and why should I obey you? You don't understand the human language, is that it? Yes, what do you mean why? Who do you think you are to dare ask me why? Who do I think I am? Well, for you, it's the end. Let's just say I'm about to become the creditor of your Lin family. Hearing this, father, Lin was left stunned. He suddenly had a bad feeling, but I had no intention of telling him any more. So I hung up directly, before tossing the phone back to the playboy. Seeing him hurry to catch it, clumsily raised an eyebrow with a smirk. It was at this exact instant, the moment the elevator doors opened, that Gu Qinghan saw me. He felt like a shock went right through his heart. He stared at me intensely, his mind completely blank. Instinctively, he approached me step by step, until I noticed him. My smile then widened, and I even gave him a little wave, a gesture reminiscent of a master calling his little dog. But strangely enough, Gu Qinghan didn't seem offended. On the contrary, he even quickened his pace. Of all the people present, only Gu Qinghan and I were smiling. Everyone else, however, had lost their color. Gu Qinghan had eyes only for me. He walked straight toward me to stand by my side. How do you want this matter settled? An apology and compensation. But I don't want you to get involved. I'll handle it myself. All right, as you wish. Thank you. The young woman's face was filled with gentleness. Lin Liu Yue thought she was seeing things, and she wasn't the only one. Even Lin Liuxian, whose legs had started to tremble to the point of threatening to give out. The moment Gu Qinghan appeared, had his eyes wide open. If he had known that I had ties to Gu Qinghan, he would have never dared to touch me, not even in his dreams. At least that's what I told myself. Trembling all over, the playboy took off his watch and held it out to me, trying to smooth things over. Mr. Shen, your watch, I'm giving it back to you. For what happened today. Could you please not hold it against me? Thank you. No, not hold it against you. No, that's going to be complicated. You are from Hong Kong, so you might not know me, no. But everyone who knows me knows that I hold an extreme grudge. While speaking, I took the watch from Lin Liuxian's hands, pinching it with disgust between two fingers before shaking it. Then I tossed it back into his hands. Besides, I don't want something that has been dirtied. Hearing these words, Lin Yuxian's face turned white as a sheet. He tried to justify himself, but seeing Gu Qinghan's icy glare, he was gripped by fear and didn't dare say another word. Very quickly, the cops arrived. I directly showed the video on my phone to the officer in charge. After they inspected the scene and retrieved the hotel's surveillance recordings, the officer then gave the order, "Mr. Lin, please follow us, you and your men." Lin Luxian was deathly pale. His hand holding the phone hesitated for a long time, but he finally called Lin Feng. After making my statement to the police, I left with Lin Liu Yue. Lin Liu Yue did not pry to find out more and immediately said with a smile, "Mr. Shen. Sister Liu Yue is like my own sister. Just call me Shenmo. Thanks, bye." Shenmo, where do you plan to stay now? A hotel is certain on one hand but not on the other. Anyone with a bit of status can always find a way to interfere. Sister, the house where you offered me to stay, is it ready? Yes, it's ready, so I'm moving in directly. Saying that, I turned toward Gu Qinghan. Do you have something to do after this? No. In reality, it wasn't that Gu Qinghan had nothing to do. He just thought that the most important thing at the moment was to help me get settled. No, I'm coming with you. It was actually Lin Liu Yue, who had stood up a business partner to rush over here. Now that she saw Gu Qinghan with me, she had no more worries. After greeting us, she left in a hurry. Once Lin Liu Yue left, Gu Qinghan suddenly blurted out, "Lin Liu Yue is working for the Rongxiang Young Group now." I nodded, "Yes, I know." And I didn't ask any further questions. Seeing that I had no intention of explaining myself, Gu Qinghan didn't press and pointed toward the car. "Let's go, I'll help you move your things." Yes, you're going to lend a hand. Is there a problem? You are the big CEO after all, helping me carry boxes. Isn't that a bit of a waste for someone like you? 2 hours later. This is the most prestigious and luxurious residential area in Hong Kong. Yes, as I followed the building number that Lin Liu Yue had sent and found the house, Gu Qinghan paused. Sister, the house where you offered me to stay, is it ready? Yes, it's ready, so I'm moving in directly, yes. Saying that, I turned toward Gu Qinghan. Do you have something to do after this? No. In reality, it wasn't that Gu Qinghan had nothing to do. He just thought that the most important thing at the moment was to help me get settled. I wasn't by your side. It was Lin Liu Yue who, on the contrary, had ditched her business partners to rush over. Now that she saw me, accompanied by Gu Qinghan, she was reassured. After greeting me, she left in a hurry. Once she left, Gu Qinghan suddenly blurted out, "Lin Liu Yue is working for the Rongxiang Group now." I nodded. Yes, I already knew that. So I didn't ask any questions. Seeing that I had no intention of explaining myself, Gu Qinghan didn't bring up the subject anymore. He then turned toward the car. "Let's go, I'll help you carry your things." "You in person? Any problem, you are the big CEO after all, for you to help me carry my things. Isn't that a bit of a waste?" 2 hours later, Jiangxi, Shijia, this is the largest and most luxurious villa district in Gangsheng. As I followed the number that Lin Liu Yue had sent and found the house, Gu Qinghan paused for a moment. Noticing it, I asked him nonchalantly, "What's the matter then? If I told you that the house next door is mine, would you believe me? What a coincidence. Then I'm counting on you for the future new neighbor." Saying that, I extended my hand toward Gu Qinghan. Gu Qinghan reacted very quickly. He immediately replied, "I'm also counting on you, Mr. Shen." After speaking, at the moment of letting go of my hand, he discreetly brushed his palm against mine. The playboy would have never imagined that even if Lin Feng had pulled strings with high-ranking contacts, he wouldn't be able to get out. What's more, after being informed of all the details of the case, the only solution proposed by the lawyer was an out-of-court settlement. But the catch was that I had to give my agreement. After refusing several meeting requests from the family's lawyer, I received a call from my own lawyer 3 days later. So when I arrived at the scene, the group of people inside was already waiting with unconcealed impatience. Lin Feng was sitting on his chair, motionless, a look of contempt on his face. Without even waiting for me to sit down, he urged me, "Come on, say it." "Hello, how much do you need to leave my son alone?" At these words, I first walked toward the main seat in the center of the room. Then I slowly prepared a cup of tea before replying. 1,000,000,002, Mr. Shen. You're pushing it a bit too far. I leaned back in my chair, took the photos my lawyer handed me, and tossed them right in front of Lin Feng. "You're the one being a small-time player, unable to even cough up 1,000,000,000. Stop acting like a big shot in front of me. Hello, do you actually know how much the watch your son stole is worth? Do you know how much the jade bracelet he shattered costs? Hello, do you know the value of the items I lost? The billion I'm asking for is already a friendly discount, and that's solely out of consideration for the fact that you are Liu Yue's biological father. It's a reduced price." It wasn't the first time Lin Feng had seen these photos, but he had never paid attention to them before. Now, he was forced to pick up the appraisal certificates on the table to examine them. But the more he read, the more his face distorted. In the end, Lin Feng even took the stack of reports and crumpled it until it was completely deformed. Thinking back to what Lin Liuxian had told him, he started to argue. It's impossible that you lost that many things. My son only took a watch from you and only damaged a jade bracelet. Who said that? I'm the one who decides the value of what I lost. And you know my belongings were all registered at the airport. Yes, and now they are nowhere to be found. So I can naturally only blame this dear Mr. Lin for his illegal break-in? Yes, of course. If Mr. Lin has proof that he didn't take anything, I'll admit defeat. But Lin Feng knows very well that Lin Liu Yan can't prove a thing. Yes, his break-in is a fact, just like the fact that he searched, damaged, or even stole my belongings. But for 1,000,000,000, even if he could raise the money, he wouldn't waste it on Lin Liuxian. Yes, after a few deep breaths, Lin Feng put on a flattering smile. Yes, Mr. Shen. What if we discuss this matter? How would you like to settle it, Lin Liu? You is your daughter, right? Hearing these words, Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. Yes, that's correct. I understand that you two get along well. Mr. Shen, right? Very well indeed. I like Liu Yue a lot. Lin Feng breathed a sigh of relief, rubbed his face, and tried a more familiar approach. Since we are practically from the same family, could you, for Liu Yue's sake, drop the matter with Liuxian? Once those words were spoken, to everyone's surprise, I nodded my head in approval. Even Lin Feng was left wide-eyed in disbelief. But the very next second, I tapped on the table and added, for the sake of your dear Liu Yue, if you transfer the shares her mother left her to Liu Yue, then the amount will be cut in half, and I will withdraw my complaint. I'll leave your precious son alone. Impossible, impossible. That's 10% of the shares of Lin's Yu Old Fossil. I think you misunderstood something. I'm not negotiating with you. I'm informing you, of course. Either you accept my conditions for an out-of-court settlement or Lin Liuxian goes nicely to prison. Of course, I know that Lin Liuxian alone isn't enough bargaining chip. So how about we throw all the contracts between Rongsheng and your Lin family into the balance? These words hit Lin Feng like a sledgehammer. He shook his head, taking a long moment to snap out of it. What exactly does that mean? You hadn't thought about this day when you forced Liu Yue to cooperate, had you today? All the projects that your Lin family is betting on are funded by Rongsheng. Have you thought about what would happen if Rongsheng withdrew its funds? All the resources your family has invested up until now would be nothing more than wasted effort. I suppose you've thought about it, yes, but you couldn't believe that Liu Yue would do such a thing to the family. After all, it's her mother's life's work, and in your eyes, Liu Yu is just a mere employee working for Rongsheng. She doesn't represent Rongsheng. No matter her skills, what kind of wave could she possibly make after all? Her projects actually bring in money for Rongsheng, so why would Rongsheng get involved? In fact, you weren't entirely wrong. Lin, Liu Yue indeed would never touch her mother's life's work. Yes, but with me it's different. I don't give a damn about the Lin family. At worst, if your family collapses, Rongsheng will just have to support another Lin family. Either way, Lin Liu Yue also carries the Lin name. Without even a glance at Lin Feng, who stood up, furious, I calmly poured myself another cup of tea. But who the hell are you anyway? I already told you, I'm the biggest creditor of your family. Yes, and aren't you afraid that my family will drag Rongsheng down in its fall? Hearing this, I burst out laughing. Ha, hey, why be afraid? If Rongsheng messes around with your Lin family at worst, you'll just get a finger broken. Do you think that matters to me? No, in fact, I don't even need to say it. Lin Feng understands it perfectly. Hey, previously, he had forced Lin Liu Yue and the Lin group to cooperate, gambling on the fact that Rongsheng was far too away, and that as long as the cooperation problems remained, minor Rongsheng wouldn't notice a thing. But he would have never imagined that I would appear, let alone that I would take Lin Liu Yue's defense. A fatal error in judgment on his part. He almost fell from his chair. After a moment, Lin Feng leaned on the table and stood up with difficulty. He told himself he could abandon Lin Liuxian, but he absolutely could not abandon the family. So he lowered his head submissively. I will have Liu Yu come to sign the share transfer contract. I beg you, be magnanimous. Spare Liuxian and the Lin family. Business is business. My compensation is non-negotiable. Lin Feng almost coughed up his lungs, but he could only nod his head with a forced smile. After this vain comedy, I watched him turn around, his body stiff, and walk away with a rigid pace. Then with a chuckle, I pulled out my phone. Hello sis, it's settled. On the other end of the line, Shen Qingyu simply made an sound. Yes, I was about to hang up when suddenly, I remembered something and added, Say sis, you seem so sad for Liu Yue. Are you hiding something from me? As I got no response from Shen Qingyu, I pressed on, sis, and then the stuttering and the evasions from my sister confirmed my doubts. There was indeed something between them. I heard the dial tone after she hung up hastily. I pouted and got up to leave the private lounge. But upon arriving at the door, I saw someone I didn't expect to see. Before I could even avoid him, he walked straight toward me. What? It really is you. Yes, you're in Gangsheng then. No wonder Xiao Jiajia couldn't find you. Yes, hey, Liu Nan tapped my shoulder with a familiar gesture. I first stopped his gesture, then I pushed him back. Hey, forget it. I have something to do, I'm leaving. Hey, wait, Shenmo. Even if you messed up with Xiao Jiajia, we're still friends. right? Hearing that, I stared at him. Hey, yeah, friends. So just now, when you gave my address to Xiao Jiajia, was that also because we are friends? No, don't think I didn't see anything. I saw him just now, tapping away on his phone. No, you don't need to be a genius to know who he was sending that message to. No, what? You're completely mistaken. I just thought there might be a misunderstanding between you and Xiao Jiajia. I just wanted you guys to be able to talk it out. And besides, it's not to judge you, but in our circle, which is pure as snow, the fact that Xiao Jiajia has waited for you faithfully all these years is already the greatest proof of love there is. And then in the end, nothing concrete ever happened between her and that person. Yes, so why play the ghost? You have no idea how much she worried about you. She lost so much weight it hurts to look at. Yes, so the more Liu Nan spoke, the more sure of himself he seemed. Hearing these words, I let out a contemptuous laugh. Are you Xiao Jiajia's father or something defending him like that? When you end up disabled, will he have to kneel at the foot of your bed to wipe your ass and empty your chamber pot? Is that it? And why are you talking so maliciously? Is that it? Yes. And do you think your words are sweet? No, at least. What I say can be understood by a human being. The moment you open your mouth, it stinks so bad it makes me want to vomit, yes. And then that phrase about who is really clean in this circle, it's your circle, not mine. You guys are dirty, and you want to drag others into your moor. Trash belongs in the landfill. Stay far away from my noble self, do not come near me. With that, I turned around and left. Behind me, Liu Nan, mad with rage, glared daggers at me. He pointed a finger at my receding figure, a torrent of insults burning his lips, but I didn't give him any chance to let them out. Finally, he took a deep breath and continued replying to the messages from Xiao Jiajia, while Liu Nan was revealing my position out of pure malice. On the other side, the one who had received the order to ensure my safety, Zhang Yao, had thoroughly enjoyed listening. His face beamed with excitement. He extracted an audio clip from the surveillance of the hallway and sent it to the chat group then. He followed up with an avalanche of thumbs-up emojis. Jiang Yao had never been impressed by anyone, but faced with the comeback of Shenmo, he bowed down low. But less than a minute after it was sent, Xiao Yan immediately picked up on the name mentioned in the recording. Seeing this, Zhang Yao's face froze. He hurried to type, delete it quickly. Although Xiaoyan didn't understand, he immediately deleted the message. Gu Qinghan, who had just opened the group and stumbled upon the scene, paused for a moment. I saw it. Zhang Yao could only give up on the idea of deleting the file. He tried to distract everyone. At that moment, Xiaoyan also realized his blunder, so he quickly tried to fix it. Yes, boss. With Shenmo's character, how could he let himself be pushed around, right? But messages kept scrolling in the group. Gu Qinghan, however, said nothing more. Zhang Yao felt that something was wrong. He clicked directly on the avatar of Gu Qinghan to send him a private message. But even after typing frantically for a good while, Gu Qinghan didn't reply. Sitting in the surveillance room, the man's face was dark as night. He had a furious urge to slap himself. Curse my hands. Hey, why did I have to send a recording of Shen Mo to the group? At this instant, Zhang Yao was eaten up by remorse. Meanwhile, far away in his office, Gu Qinghan opened the file. Listening to the name, I kept repeating. His mood instantly darkened. Xiao Jiajia. Gu Qinghan repeated this name in a low voice, his fingers drumming on the desk. He felt like this name was familiar. But beyond that, what worried Gu Qinghan the most was the identity of this person. My ex-girlfriend. Even if it was just an ex, it upset him to the highest degree. And what upset him even more was that he didn't even have the right to be jealous of this underscore. Example, he clicked on my profile picture, staring at the chat window for a long moment. Finally, he let out a sigh. All the important matters are settled, and you still don't think of me, he said to himself. But the very next second, he saw a notification appear in our chat window. You have nudged the smart little head. With a new urge, he looks at the group chat in a panic and tries to delete his messages. But my message was already gone. Now, even if nothing had happened, something was about to happen. Gu Qinghan lets out a deep breath. Hey, have you finished working? Running out of excuses. Gu Qinghan can only hide behind politeness. I read his message and intentionally tease him. He is very direct. I can perfectly imagine Gu Qinghan's serious look when saying this. I then take another look at their text. Ah yes, so how badly do you want to see me? Gu Qinghan takes some time to reply. He ponders the question with a grave expression, without even hearing his assistant knocking at the door. He doesn't even notice. Only upon snapping out of it does he tell him to come in. The assistant pushes the door open, preparing to give him an update on the rest of his schedule for the day. But he is interrupted by Gu Qinghan. I have a question to ask you. He is sitting up straight, his expression unprecedentedly serious, so much so that the assistant, frightened, thinks that something terrible has happened. Once he finds his words, Gu Qinghan finally speaks again. Imagine that you tell the person you love that you want to see them, and they ask you how badly you want it. What should you reply at that moment? Mr. Gu, was it Mr. Shen who asked you that, wasn't it? Yes. And here I thought it was serious, making a face like that. I didn't know our dear Mr. Gu could also say he wanted to see someone. Come on, spit it out and stop your nonsense. Fine, 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 Mr. Gu. I think Mr. Shen. I didn't say it was Shenmo. After a moment of silence, Gu Qinghan decides to drop it and continue. The assistant coughs. To suppress the smile coming to his lips, serious analysis from my experience in the field. I think if Mr. Shen asked you this question, it's clearly because he knew that you would be too embarrassed to answer and he just wanted to tease you. Hearing this, Gu Qinghan pouted suddenly a little disappointed. He thought I was testing his feelings, so it was just a joke. According to my estimates, it's very likely. But Mr. Gu, if you really have a doubt, why not ask Mr. Shen directly? The worst thing between lovers is playing guessing games. If there's a problem, you just need to speak about it directly. Once the problem is on the table, either we can discuss it, or if it leads nowhere, we split up and don't talk about it anymore. That way there are no regrets. This last sentence, the assistant had just thrown it out there, but Gu Qinghan took it very much to heart. He is so lost in his thoughts that he doesn't notice, even when his assistant has left. On my end, at first I hadn't received a reply from Gu Qinghan. I was a bit perplexed. It was only when, returning home and looking at my phone, that I saw Gu Qinghan's message want it very badly. 4 very simple words. While typing, I climb onto the sofa and sit cross-legged. You thought for so long just to give me 4 words. I feel like I'm being ripped off. Reading these last words, Gu Qinghan enters the garage while driving. He wonders, do these words have a double meaning? A moment later, he replies, in that case I will compensate you. Seeing these words, I admit that my heart swayed a little. I didn't expect him to be so straightforward, but I didn't reply. After putting down my phone, I slipped into the bathroom to take a shower. A few minutes later, I grabbed my phone, ready to go downstairs to find something to eat. But at that exact moment, Gu Qinghan suddenly called me, I'm outside your place. Hey, with the phone to my ear, I rushed down the stairs. Opening the door, I saw him standing on the threshold. He looked like he had come straight from the office, his face a little flushed, and he was still out of breath. As I stared at him without blinking, Gu Qinghan took a step forward almost instinctively. Hey, I bought some local Hong Kong specialties. It's to make it up to you. Let me see what's in there. Let me come in first, please. It's quite windy outside. Hardly had he finished his sentence when I stepped aside. Hey, I only have disposable slippers at home. You'll have to make do with them. Saying that, I pulled a pair of disposable slippers out of the top closet. Seeing that his unexpected visit didn't upset me, he felt like he was floating on a cloud. This egg waffle shop is a real institution in Hong Kong. It's sweet without being both crispy and soft. Taste it, you'll see. There's also this roast duck and these fried skewers. It works out well. I hadn't eaten anything either. Thank you very much. Just as we reached the table, ready to start, I suddenly stopped him. Wait a second. Do you drink alcohol? Alcohol? What kind of alcohol? Fruit wine. I brought it back from Lijin. However, his attention wasn't on the wine, but on the name of the place. It was the first time I had mentioned where I came from. Gu Qinghan's eyes lit up. He thought that by talking about Lijin, I might be opening my heart to him. The more Gu Qinghan thought about it, the more excited he became. But he managed to keep his composure perfectly. Very quickly, I returned with a sealed wine jar and sat down at the table. It was during a getaway to the countryside that I learned to make this mulberry wine from an old grandma. It's delicious. You're going to love it. With that, I uncorked the jar with an expert gesture. The next instant, a rich, intoxicating aroma spread through the air. Yet, when I poured him a full glass, he seemed to hesitate to drink. Before back home, my family always kept an eye on me. I could only drink a tiny glass each time. Now that you have the chance, you can certainly have a drink with me. No. Yes, it's just that I'm afraid you'll get drunk. Gu Qinghan could hold his liquor very well, so he wasn't worried about himself. But he was a good judge. He could tell that I must be a lightweight. I protested confidently and raised my glass first. Don't worry, I won't get drunk. Faced with my persistence, Gu Qinghan gave in. He could only clink glasses with me with a tender look and join in. An hour later, my third glass was already empty. Seeing me eagerly reach my hand toward the jar, Gu Qinghan stopped me. That's enough. Don't drink anymore, you'll end up completely drunk. With a flushed face, I retorted. What are you muttering under your breath? Me drunk. Drunk, impossible. The more I drink, the clearer my mind gets. Hardly had I said that, when I grabbed the hand of Gu Qinghan that was blocking my path, and began to push. Why isn't it moving? Yet I was putting all my strength into it. Oh wait, this hand is actually quite pretty. While looking at it, I suddenly extend my index finger. I place it gently on the back of Gu Qinghan's hand, then under his shocked and dumbfounded gaze, I start tracing the outline of his fingers. He asks in a low voice, "Are you drunk? You're trying to sneak your hand away, but I've got my eye on you." I immediately reached out to grab it firmly. Then I glare at him, impatient. "No, don't move, let me look." Hearing this, Gu Qinghan takes a deep breath. He feels a tension throbbing at his temples. All right, that's it. There's no point in asking the question anymore. He is completely drunk. Didn't he say he could hold his liquor very well? Barely 3 glasses. He sighs, thinking about this, and tries to pull his hand away. But it's impossible to move it. Evidently even, drunk I remain on my guard. I mock him while pulling his hand against my cheek. Then I lower my head and rub it against the back of his hand. Hey, Gu Qinghan, I really like this one. Seeing me do this, Gu Qinghan's breathing grows heavy. He lets me play around with his hand, while he lowers his head to sip his wine in silence. A little later, I suddenly order him the other one. The previous one was too warm. I don't like it. Gu Qinghan complies then. Submissively, I feel it carefully and uncertain that I like this one too. Gu Qinghan says nothing. But barely had I uttered these words when his cheeks, as he struggled to keep his composure, instantly turned scarlet red. He exhales, looking at me with his head lowered, as I amuse myself with his hand. He is suddenly almost relieved that my attention is not on him. But the next moment, my gaze, which was lingering tenderly on his hand, turns away and I stare at him without blinking. Gu Qinghan, you're all red. You must be the one who's drunk. Hearing this, Gu Qinghan instinctively covers his eyes with his other hand. What? Let's see who is really drunk here. My eyes light up. What did you say? Look? What a stroke of luck. I stand up under Gu Qinghan's bewildered gaze. The next second, I'm right in front of him. Then Gu Qinghan stiffens immediately and holds his breath. Then seeing my hazy gaze, he discreetly relaxes his control and carefully inhales my scent. If I stepped forward just a tiny bit, I could touch the tip of his nose. For an instant, he wanted to move closer. Fortunately, reason returned to him just in time. I, on the other hand, am becoming bolder and bolder. I grope around and finally find his earlobe. The second my hand grazes it, Gu Qinghan almost loses all control. He grits his teeth, turns his head to avoid my breath, and tries to coax me with an embarrassed look. Stop playing. I can't hear anything. Yes, you did hear me, thanks. Not even true. I stare at him, pretending to be fierce. Just when Gu Qinghan thought I was going to get angry, he saw my gaze travel down his nose, then over his lips, before continuing its path downward. Finally, my gaze fixed on that spot. Gu Qinghan gave a start, petrified by my expression. Faster than ever, he stood up with a leap. Don't you dare do anything reckless. I put on a perfectly calm face. I scratched my head. What are you afraid of? I'm not afraid. And it's not like you're going to take advantage of me. Besides, weren't you the one who asked me to look? Just now. When did I... He stopped mid-sentence. Gu Qinghan suddenly realized that he indeed had used the word look. You misunderstood. That's not what I meant. Yes, but barely had he uttered those words when my face took on a completely pained expression, and Gu Qinghan cannot bear to see me like that. Seeing me on the verge of losing my balance, his heart skipped a beat. Gritting his teeth, he approached me. Go ahead, touch. But there are places you cannot touch. Yes, it's my fault. What's the use of reasoning with a drunk person? Seeing that he was giving in, I was satisfied. I patted Gu Qinghan's shoulder. Gu Qinghan, I want to sleep. Hearing this, Gu Qinghan froze in his tracks. Sleep, sleep, babe. How exactly do you want to sleep? Wash my face, brush my teeth, and then lie down on the bed and close my eyes. A moment later, Gu Qinghan followed me upstairs. I went directly into one of the guest rooms. So when he caught up with me, he saw me with a new toothbrush in hand, smiling at him. Then I grabbed a towel, a bath towel, and shoved everything into his arms before walking away. Looking perfectly satisfied, Gu Qinghan, his arms loaded with all these still packaged things, didn't quite know what to think. At this thought, Gu Qinghan told himself that he would surely end up spending his life being led by the nose by me. Outside, my voice was heard again and he came out. Hurriedly, he saw me, already brushing my teeth, a mouthful of toothpaste. I tilted my head and wished him good night. What a good night. A few minutes later, Gu Qinghan stood at the foot of my bed watching me, sleeping soundly. Wrapped up in the duvet, he turned off my bedroom light and left. But Gu Qinghan didn't go back home. He settled into the guest room, right next to mine. Gu Qinghan left both our doors open. He knew that drunk people risked vomiting and choking during the night. He couldn't leave me unattended. Fortunately, I slept peacefully until the next morning. He had porridge delivered, along with a hangover soup, and set everything on the table. Then he left me a message before heading to the office. At noon, it was thirst that woke me up. With my eyes still half closed, I went downstairs to fetch a glass of water from the kitchen. It was only upon stepping out that I noticed the two thermoses on the table. What on earth is that? I asked myself, frowning. Approaching them, I inspected them. Uncertain they weren't bombs, I finally opened the lids. Inside, I discovered a deliciously fragrant porridge. I instinctively looked around. I remember last night I had dinner with Gu Qinghan, and after that, I slept. As I racked my brain, scenes from last night began to resurface, little by little. But when I realized how I had taken advantage of Gu Qinghan, last night I froze right on the spot. Yes, that was indeed me. That person taking advantage of others with such confidence was really me. I flopped down onto the sofa, my body bouncing heavily. I feel like I'm totally doomed. Yes, this thing with Gu Qinghan has reached a point where even my subconscious is acting for me. How am I going to face him now? Yeah, what if I pretended not to remember anything? Would Gu Qinghan believe me? No. While I was hesitating, that was when the doorbell rang. Completely dejected, I dragged myself off the sofa. I floated to the door to open it. A few seconds later, seeing that it was Gu Qinghan standing outside, I immediately slammed the door shut without thinking. When I realized what I had just done, my face fell. This gesture shows clearly that I remember what happened yesterday. Even through the door, I could hear his laughter. I took a deep breath and resigned. I opened the door. I know I went overboard last night. Go ahead, insult me. I apologized, with my head lowered, then closed my eyes, waiting for his reprimands. But the slap I imagined never came. Instead, a warm hand caressed my head. Seeing my surprise and confusion, Gu Qinghan asked with a smirk, "How exactly did you go overboard? And besides, how do you know I wasn't consenting?" Yes, before I could even react, Gu Qinghan's face moved closer to mine. "What do you know what I wanted to do last night? When you were so close to me, huh?" I don't know why, but after he asked that question, my gaze involuntarily landed on his lips. I didn't know what Gu Qinghan wanted to do, but I knew very well what I wanted. As if he had guessed my thoughts, he put his heels back on the ground. Passing by me, he whispered, "My intentions are the same as yours." Hearing that, I was completely lost. I hurried to catch up with him. "What intentions? And you, what are your intentions?" Wait, how? Could he know what I was just thinking? Yes, but Gu Qinghan didn't answer my question. His gaze landed on the table, on the hangover, tea and the porridge that I hadn't touched. "You just woke up, right?" I wanted to press for an answer, but thinking about it, that would show I cared too much. So I held back. I just gave him a detached before seeing that Gu Qinghan had already gone into the kitchen. He grabbed some utensils and served the porridge and tea into bowls. That's when I realized how adept he was at doing all this. Suddenly, I thought back to the table, which was completely clean when I woke up. I suddenly felt guilty. "Last night, don't tell me you were the one who cleaned everything up." "Yeah, I did it along the way. Come eat quickly." Eat quickly. This guy is way too considerate and takes care of everything. Thank you. He isn't hitting on me. It feels more like he's raising his son. I saw that Gu Qinghan had already pulled out a chair for me. So I approached, sat down and tasted a spoonful of this yam porridge, sweet and smooth. The person who had just pulled out his phone glanced at me. "Aren't you eating anything?" "No, I already ate at the company cafeteria." "But if you already ate, why did you come?" No, having said that, I stopped mid-sentence. "I understood." I shut up just in time. "No, yes, but..." Gu Qinghan didn't let such a great opportunity pass. "I came to see if our grand young master, Chen, had finally gotten out of bed. It's just that I have nothing important to do lately, so I let myself go a little. And I don't sleep until noon every day." Seeing my gestures, Gu Qinghan couldn't help but laugh softly. He finds that even if I do nothing, just seeing me cheers him up. He can't help it. Since Gu Qinghan was laughing too loudly, I gave him a displeased look before quickly finishing my meal. But barely had I finished when I saw Gu Qinghan stand up to clear the table. No. I'm not a good-for-nothing. I'll do it. It's not right to let a guest do the cleaning." With that, I took the thermos and the bowl into the kitchen. Then, sleeves rolled up, I started the dishes. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw that Gu Qinghan had followed me, without me noticing, and he was standing on the threshold, staring at me. I suddenly felt a bit embarrassed. "You don't think I'm capable of cleaning up, do you?" No. "No, then why are you staring at me like that?" "I'm afraid you'll get bored." I see. And since when has our CEO, Gu, changed careers to keep people company? Does it pay well, huh?" Gu Qinghan didn't get offended. He even played along, putting on a pensive look. Seeing me put away the bowl into the sterilizer and turn around to grab the thermos, he finally replied, "It pays." "Well, not that well. The main thing is to make the client happy. Isn't that right, Mr. Chen?" I wiped my hands while putting on a cold and distant face. "I think it's average, nothing more." "Why average, Mr. Chen? Why don't you tell me what's so average?" The man in front of me had a dream body. My eyes lit up, coming back to my senses. I hurried to reply, feigning calmness. "You are way too uptight. Someone keeping company should be a bit more, you know what? I don't understand at all."